Welcome. Honey, start your turn.
What do you mean, my turn?
You gotta say it with me.
I know, but you didn't.
Well, welcome to another episode of Driving to the Res
with your favorite hosts,
Inelia
and Diary.
Yeah.
And today, Peebee.
Peebee making crunchy noises. Hi, puppy.
Hi, puppy. What would you like to talk about today, honey?
That's an interesting thing that you should ask. Because I was sleeping this morning. You know, we did sleep at our fossil beach today.
Yeah, we slept in.
Yeah, because Lucy, our guardian dog, felt like she was on duty all night long.
Mm-hmm.
New territory, lots of animals had to come check her out.
Mm-hmm.
Say, who's this? Who is this? Well, she had to claim the space. She does that with her bark.
And she barked all night until I switched the lights outside off, and then she went to sleep.
Yeah, and when I saw her this morning, she was so tired from guarding all night long. I literally walked by her, and she didn't move a muscle. I actually thought she was dead.
Oh my God.
I thought, oh my God, the vet gave her, because we brought her to the vet, right?
Yeah.
To have her jaw checked out. It didn't seem like it was working right or opening all the way. And the vet couldn't find anything, but she did, of course, give her some form of elephant sedative.
Because she's giant.
So that she could maneuver inside of her giant mouth and not get bit.
Mm-hmm. Well, she would.
Yeah. So, I thought maybe she gave her too much and she died.
Oh my God.
Because I've never walked by her and she not moved a muscle.
Right.
But then I saw her breathing. So I went off into the woods a little bit and I stood there for a second. And somehow or other she sensed I was there. She heard a crack of something. Anyway, she all of a sudden woke up. And the first thing that she did when she woke up, she looked at her like, where the hell am I at? She's never been here before. What's going on? And who are you? Because
you were in the bushes.
I was in the bushes and she growled immediately. Yeah. And then I talked to her because I thought, oh man, she must be zinging or zonging or I don't know what's wrong with you. Good morning, Lucy. And then her tail started waggling and she's like, oh, thank God it's you. Yeah,
it's
I
you.
know.
Yeah, you were barking. Yeah, all night.
That's not Lucy, by the way.
No, that's Peebee.
Lucy barks, then Peebee goes for it.
Yeah. Oh, you would know the difference. The other one is big, scary barks.
So the interesting bit about that, the segue.
That was her barking.
Oh my God, did you really?
Next to the mic.
Gosh, that silly girl. Yeah. Little tiny dogs have interesting digestions.
So anyways, she's thirsty now.
Anyways, watching... Just excuse me.
Watching?
Baby's trying to get herself comfortable, I guess. Anyways, watching Lucy go from completely asleep, and then waking up, and that state of confusion when they wake up and nothing's like it should be, nothing like it was, kind of reminded me a little bit of what you were listening to this morning. Some of the techniques that are used to keep the sleepy.
Mm-hmm.
So I thought maybe we'd talk about that.
How to keep the sleepies. Well, we've talked about several times already, but I was listening to a podcast by a guy, I can't remember his name. Let me just see. That I thought the link is with the Freedom Cells Telegram group. They're doing a conference and he's one of the speakers. And he's a historical... Huh?
Derek Rose?
No, that wasn't him, no.
Oh.
No. But they're doing a big event around the world. Let me see if I can find it. Peace and Revolution is the name of the podcast. Peace Revolution.
Peace Revolution episode?
Peace Revolution, yeah. And...
Liberty and Economics, Part 1, Philosophy.
Yeah, but I don't think this is this is not the one that I was listening to before.
Oh,
the one I was listening to before is actually his episode 1, or their episode 1. The very first one they did in 2009.
Mm-hmm.
And funnily enough, they're talking about all the right things.
Yeah, it's really excellent.
Yeah.
Bits and pieces that I was listening to.
Yeah, education. And...
Well, yeah, we all know at some level the education system is, a place we send our kids in the hope that they have an expansion of awareness. They learn some facts and some figures. They learn how to get along with their peers and have a good time with their sports and engage with each other and, learn stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Kind of stuff that, sure, in our regular day with our kids, we probably wouldn't encounter. We didn't do very much calculus yesterday when we were cutting firewood.
Mm-hmm.
But we did get warm.
Mm-hmm.
But we don't generally put aside time to, I guess, analyze higher mathematics. Mm-hmm. So we send them to school to access that and see, maybe that bug bites them. At least for me.
Okay.
But it also comes with the unknown ingredients, like whatever they put in ice cream that you don't have to put on the label.
Oh my God, yeah.
Those dirty buggers.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
Hopefully not all ice cream.
All of it.
Not Häagen-Dazs.
At least
not.
Here in the US. Yeah. They're not allowed to do that in Europe, but here in the US.
Yeah. So in school they have the bell. The bell interrupts everything. No matter what you're doing, if the bell goes off, you're done. Mm-hmm. So you could be right in the middle of the most interesting thing. The bell goes off, you're done. It's over. So basically you learn you can... nothing's so important that a bell can't stop you from doing it, or guess. I don't know. Some kind of a training.
Yeah.
So people go to work and they work until 5 or whatever time, and they decide that that's when you work. And you have to work all the way up until that time when the bell goes off, basically.
Well, actually, they didn't cover one little factoid. That after the bell goes off and they go home, they have to carry on working. They do have homework.
Oh, you do have homework.
So now that they brought in the remote work, people don't stop. They work all day. All day.
Like you, honey.
Yep. Well, I've been doing that for years because I like it. I like the work that I do, which is different to this other types of work, right? But one of the things that I found interesting is that, it's like people are aware of this and they have been talking about it since 2009, Mm-hmm. That, for example, the school system is geared solely to create people who are told the answer to a question, and then they are asked the question, they have to give that answer, and then they get a A++, right? And the normacy of going into school, sitting down in your chair, being quiet, and learning all these rote answers to be able to answer them back when you're asked that question, that's normal. And some kids miss it, right? When it was over for a while here because of the things that's been going on the planet and everybody was sent home, a lot of kids missed that. They missed the jail, It was, yeah. And for me, why did I send my kids to school? Well, it was free childcare when I worked. That was it. I always knew what it was doing. I always knew what it was about. And I did my best after they came home to deprogram what was happening, give them some sort of independent thought, decision-making capacity. And one of the things here that, one of the things that they talked about in the podcast was, and when the kids are being programmed and they rebel, there's very few parents who will go in and defend their child, right? And I did defend my children whenever they did things that I felt were positive and the schools thought they were negative. I would go in and defend them, like daydreaming. I was brought in, I think, by most of the kids, my kids, one or more times I was brought in because the kid was daydreaming, and I would go in and say, well, they're part of a shamanic lineage. Daydreaming is part of their culture and they need to do it. So if you see him or her daydreaming, just let them be, and other such things, I remember with my youngest, the teacher brought me in because he was talking all the time. And I said, well, that's his strength, that's his superpower. Why don't you encourage him to become a public speaker? Oh, well, I don't know about that. He says, well, I don't want you telling him off for speaking anymore, but he's disrupting the class. Well, why don't you focus it and veer it somewhere else, making a teacher's assistant? And they thought, oh yeah, that's actually a good idea.
Well, many of them are the product of the same thing that they're doing,
Absolutely, yeah.
So
and
they don't know different.
No, they don't know any different. But also the commercialism and advertising, they create consumers. It's like, it's pretty much has been known, and that information has been out there for decades and decades and decades. It's not like just 2009 when this podcast was recorded. They learned it from somewhere too. They did research and they've known about it. Fluoride in water to make you dumb. How that was used in concentration camps by the Nazis to keep their prisoners compliant and sort of emotionless. And
well, I think one of the statements was made it kind of clear, and it's a little unfortunate, but do you think the government actually cares about your kids enough to put fluoride in the water to save their teeth?
No.
They just pretend that they do.
Right. And it's like that mass treatment of people, allegedly medical treatment given to people without their consent or knowledge. It's pretty bad, Like Prozac and all those other antidepressants are fluoride, It's very known what it does.
Yeah.
And historically, what I learned many, many years ago, I think I might have learned it in school in England, because I went to a pretty good school. Even though I hardly ever went, I went about once a week to the classes that I liked. God, that got them in a bit of a tiff, But anyways, one of the things that I learned was that the most popular drink in England for what was normal in England was coffee.
Mm.
And then tea was introduced, because tea's got a huge amount of fluoride in it, and now everybody knows that the English drink tea and not coffee. So that was really strange, because when I first moved to England, I thought it was very odd, but people would have dozens of cups of tea a day. They've been drinking tea all day, one cup after another,
Mm-hmm.
It wasn't like something you sit down to have. It's literally you would have it all day. And you'd often have the teapot and you'd refresh it, you refresh your cup during the day. So, yeah, and that's fluoride, right? So that was I don't know the dates, but that was implemented in the UK maybe 100, maybe 200 years ago. I don't know when that change happened, because I can't remember the exact historical dates, but it was interesting to me. In other countries, they still use coffee, and coffee doesn't have fluoride, I don't think, or as much, but maybe. I don't think it does, actually, have fluoride in it. But now people, it's like what's good for you and what isn't. A lot of people say coffee is really bad for you.
Mm-hmm.
That hasn't been my experience, but I drink very, very, very little coffee.
Yeah, like 2 tablespoons.
Tiny, tiny little bit of coffee.
And a bit in a cup of hot water with 2 tablespoons of coffee. It looks like coffee, sort of. If the cup's not clear, you can tell it's a little too thin.
Yeah.
And no truck driver going to drink that.
Nope. But yeah, so there's a lot of things that have been happening that has brought us to this moment in time-space of absolute control. And another point that they were saying is like making education a law that it's illegal not to educate your children, and a certain types of education too. That's pretty, authoritarian. That's a dictatorship. And it's not for the good of children either. It's not. And then to send them to college and create huge debt for education that doesn't actually... I have never met anybody actually who used what they learned in university during work. I haven't.
Well, you do.
Use communication skills?
Mm-hmm.
That's true. Yeah. I mean, I expanded on it. The stuff that I learned in university was like the tip of the iceberg, it's very little.
Yeah. Well, I thought it was interesting more along the lines I always thought anyway, with college, it was the relationships you made, that those were the people in the place and the tribe you basically built upon to build the things that you're going to make or do in the rest of your life,
Mm-hmm.
And that it was also a place to explore things that you wouldn't have access to the equipment or the intellectual person or the library without.
Oh, the library, yeah.
Without going there,
Mm-hmm.
You can't just walk into their library. And so, depending on the person, naturally, the person can take advantage of whatever resources are available. But sure, it's like at Stanford, They say on the one hand, you have the mandatory vaccinations, and on the other hand, these face masks, we just did our study and they're useless.
Mm.
But you have to wear a face mask. So it's like they're so big, there's so many there that they say both things.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know how to disentangle it, but
Yeah,
it's like you
hard,
have access to a
yeah.
great deal of stuff, but with it comes
a
comes at a
deal
price.
Of stuff.
Yeah, there's the price. And so if you're awake and aware and alert enough to understand what's happening, then you at least have somewhat of a chance to get around it. But at the same time, you are susceptible all the same. Like the I didn't know, for example, that one of the main uses of surveys was to enlist herd mentality.
Mm-hmm.
So if 88% of the people are getting vaccinated and are fine, then, the herd mentality is, you probably should. Look, most everybody's fine.
Yeah.
Sure, there's weird things that happen. There's
Mm-hmm.
weird things that happen crossing the road, but mostly it never happens. Nothing to worry about. So the survey is basically just to go to, it's kind of like that, what is that karate you learned? The one where when people are going one way, you keep them going that way and then use their
I didn't use
momentum.
that one. Yeah, I didn't learn that one.
Yeah. But you know what I'm saying?
Oh,
it's
absolutely, yes. And plus, the survey is created in a certain way, and the people who answer surveys are a particular type of person.
And the questions are asked in a certain way that elicit a certain response.
Exactly. Yeah,
and anyways, they're not afraid to lie a little bit.
And even if they do it illegally, the profit is so big that they don't care. They'll do illegal things all the time because the fines that they get are so tiny compared to the profit that it's totally worth it for them.
Right. So when a normal person, when I say normie, you know what I mean? Normal person who's not really exposed to a lot of nudges to wake up yet,
mm-hmm.
maybe. And they are part of their city. They're part of their town. They're part of their state. They
mm-hmm.
identify even as their state and their country.
Mm-hmm.
They have very strong values instilled in them in their years of schooling that they believe in, that, it serves them well. They have a good life and they enjoy their life.
Uh-huh.
Not saying that their life isn't any good, but you can see how they are steered, right? And that's one of the ways they use a survey. And the survey says most of these people do this, and you don't want to be, outlier. You don't want to stand out. You'll get kicked out of the herd.
Mm-hmm.
That kind of thing is a subconscious natural reaction. So I think there's also things to create subservience that are put into foods and the diets and maybe even medicines. I don't know, probably vaccinations, whatever.
Mm-hmm.
So you're more leaning towards listening than leading.
Mm.
And probably that's part of the educational process too, right?
Yeah.
Because a good herd, I guess, is managed. They're not just left willy-nilly.
Right.
I know it sounds ridiculous, but I think that's probably how some of these people think of people, right? As like a herd that needs managed.
Absolutely, yeah. Oh my gosh, yeah. Totally.
And not in a negative way in their mind. This is what they need. If we didn't tell them what to do, they would probably I don't know, self-destruct, probably.
Yeah.
Have you ever seen them when you leave them alone?
Right.
They get up to all kinds of stuff.
Yeah.
Is that how it works?
Yeah, pretty much.
So we moved into a state of society managed. Was it always managed like this, or has the level of management changed? Do you know what I mean?
I think it's moved into like psychological and emotional manipulation.
Nudge unit, that type thing.
Yeah. So I would say that it kind of has always been that way. You know, I could imagine that, say, a feudal lord or whatever's would have guns, not guns, but like swords or whatever's, and if the peasants didn't do what he said, he would come in and chop their heads off of the leader ones, right?
Yeah, you probably don't have to do that very many times.
No, you just get the strongest off, kill the strongest, and then the rest will...
Jeez, if you can do that to him,
yeah,
I'm nothing compared to that.
Right, so the rest will do what they're told. And so that's led by fear, which is an emotion. And these days, they use fear a lot, obviously, but also other emotions, such as, like you said, wanting to be part of the pack, not wanting to be different, the fear of rejection, the fear or the desire, right? Desire to belong, desire to have gratification of some sort. So all those things are being used to manipulate the masses for sure. And the stage has been set very, very nicely by like when you were mentioning somewhere in Africa, you said that tiny little children, 3-year-olds, were breaking stones to make into gravel so that they could sell it and go to school because they had to pay for school.
Mm-hmm.
That's a perfect setup because you're creating a value on being a slave, and the person actually pays and works to become a slave and be educated to be a good slave. So yeah, it's one of those interesting aspects of life, you know.
Yeah, well, in that village, if you don't go to school, you don't learn to write or read, you are relegated to worse things than if you can read and write.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
so
that's part of the price of management, right?
Make sure that without it, you're worse off.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Well,
especially value.
You are literally worse off.
Yeah, you are worse off, and even the value aspect of it, when there was value on being somebody who chops wood and carries it and sells it to the village or shares it for food, there was value in that, but nowadays there isn't, because that person can't afford an iPhone or whatever,
Well, that person can't afford anything, really.
Mm-hmm. One of the interesting things that I've seen, and I've traveled quite a lot around the world. I have never been to Africa, but I've been to other continents and countries. And one of the things that really fascinated me was, even in the most poor areas, really, really poor areas, you'd have like a shack made out of cardboard that where people with whole family was living in, maybe 2 or 3 of them. And you look inside, or you go inside, and there's this giant television.
Yeah.
Right? Brand new, modern, giant television in there. And you go, wait, they don't have floors? And they're drinking out of yogurt plastic cups because they can't go enough for glass cups or glasses? But they have this giant television in here.
Yeah, that's why they don't have glasses and stuff. They saved up their money for a TV.
Probably.
They're very, very diligent.
Yeah. So from that perspective, it's really interesting, the value sense, what is valuable. And then when we step into the victim-aggressor cycle, you think, oh my gosh, these people, they're brought into, or they're attracted to the cities, they live in shanty towns because they only get work there. And in the city, they can't work in the countryside anymore. It's all dead or whatever's. And there's no sewage, so their poop and everything's down in the street, and nobody cares. And how can the government do this to them? But it isn't the government, right, that's doing that to them. It's like the programming. Well, it kind of is the government.
It kind of is.
It kind of is. But at the same time,
but it's also that
those individuals,
not changeable through that.
Right. Those individuals could very well just stand up and create a sewage system, but they don't. You know?
Well, so could we.
Yeah.
But
we don't.
We don't want to.
Yeah. So that's the other aspect. Remember, we've mentioned it so many times how we've seen things that people in the 1800s used to do here in the United States, and the energy and the life force and just the drive to create all these amazing things, like and ordinary people, and the knowing
and everything else, right?
They're ordinary people.
Like dig a well.
Yeah.
Dig a well. The most basic thing. You know how many classes I had in school? How to dig a well?
0.
The many different ways that you can dig a well to get clean, clear water.
Nothing, probably.
None. Not any one. Never. You had college. Did you have any in college?
Nope.
Did you have any anywhere?
Nope. Because you open the tap and there's the water. Full of fluoride.
Well, I gotta say that when you start investigating how do you dig a well, apparently it's not as difficult as you might imagine.
No, it's not difficult. No.
As a matter of fact, you can do it in your backyard with some hand tools.
Mm-hmm.
You can order a box online, and it comes with all kinds
Everything
of plastic bits and bobs that you need to do a modern type of well.
Mm-hmm.
Or you can just dig one yourself, and I don't know how you do. Or you have to make it wide. You have to have a lot of energy to do it. And, that's the other thing. And there's
the energy aspect.
The amount of energy that those individuals have relative to the amount of input in, for example, food.
Uh-huh.
They don't have like a plate. There's no plate with the food on it.
Uh-huh.
Just a stick and the meat,
Uh-huh.
There's not any vegetables, or if there is, there's 1 or 2 roots.
Uh-huh.
There's no ketchup, salt, pepper.
So who is that these people we're talking about?
Well, I watched these fellas dig in giant, underground palace in the clay. Remember those?
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
And they sleep on the little wood rack, and they cook their dinner, and it's just a varmint that they managed to snag and cook her over the fire, and one has a leg and the other has the other leg, and then they spend all day working. Maybe off camera they're having a big lunch, buffet style.
I doubt it. But anyways, I'm talking about, like...
How do they get that much energy from that tiny bit of food?
Right, and also in the 1800s here, it's like, it wasn't like they had that much, right?
Yeah.
But they had energy. There's so much energy.
In the macaws, what do we had? We had whale oil, which is a good source of, fats, and dried fish, which is hanging in the house on the roof, because it's got the fire going all the time too, and it keeps the fish going.
Smoked.
But smoked fish and seal oil and clams and stuff at low tide, but still, if you woke up in the morning tomorrow and you had to feed yourself by what you could gather, and that was an everyday thing, you wouldn't eat much of the stuff that you eat nowadays.
No, you can't even collect food.
You can't even collect it. You can't even find it. And you couldn't create some of the recipes even. It would be a challenge. Unless you had a bunch of people collecting stuff and bringing it all to you.
Right.
Like the king or the queen or the whatever, right?
Yeah.
Your basic day was like, well, we're going to have potatoes again. We got a big bag of them. Anybody any ideas? Maybe we could go low tide, go get some clams, have clams and potatoes?
Yeah.
Or what,
Well,
maybe
when I think about that,
or...
I remember when I said, hey, let's go and get some clams and have that. You said something about red
back
tide
then,
or
they
something.
didn't have red tide. Nowadays we do.
Yeah.
So you got to be aware of what's in the water, because you might not be so good after you eat your clams.
Yeah. So that's interesting, isn't it? The poisoning of their
environment.
Food.
And the belief that the water, that was the privatization of water. You can't drink the water out of the ground. It could be poisoned.
Poisoned, yeah. Except that the tap water is way more poisonous. And bottled water is also poisonous.
It's so topsy-turvy. That's the thing, though, is that it's easy to get these little things slipped into your head, and then you carry on like they're facts, because they were given to you, and you were trained when someone with authority gives you a fact. Well, it's a fact.
Yeah. It reminds me of the avocado industry as well. I grew up, when I was little, I lived in Chile, and avocados were something you ate when they came out of, they ripened. A seasonal food, but we used them a lot in a lot of food. Very popular. And then the avocado industry just took off here in the United States, and there's like the industrial farming of avocados now. It's like a mafia-run thing in lots and lots of countries. It's horrible. Terrible. And you think, oh great, I'm having my organic avocados. And if you looked at the history of it, you think, oh my god.
This isn't good at all.
No. And is it really good for you? I'm not sure. I'm not sure anymore.
Not sure anymore. That's the bit that comes is, and I have to say, in my own schooling, I was definitely brainwashed plenty of ways, which way to the other. But one teacher, as I think probably is often the case, there are the individual teachers that we place in our way to orchestrate our own awakening. His class, it was called oceanography. We didn't do a lot of ocean stuff. We almost exclusively worked on truthing the information that we received, including from the newspapers, the magazines, science articles, things that we assumed are facts or truths. Basically, we'd spend 2 hours maybe reading the current news and then truthing the things that we were exposed to. Are this true? How will we find out if it's true? How will we refute it if it's not true? Teaching you how to think and to truth. One teacher, one class, 1 year had more impact than probably, all of the other ones and towards my being able to eventually claw my way awake a bit,
Yeah.
And all those other ones did their very darndest to keep me happily asleep, which is not a victim, it's an orchestration.
Right, yeah.
We're all orchestrated to play our place and enjoy our role, whatever role it was that we wanted to play.
Yep.
And in some of those roles, you can't be awake to play those roles. You wouldn't do it.
Correct.
So here we are in a time where many people have decided this is when we switch from this game to this game, right? Mm-hmm. So it's a valuable skill to know that much of the data you get is intended to maneuver or manipulate you into one side or another, right?
Yeah.
And some of those things are really, really, really invisible to you. Mm-hmm. Like, we took a survey and 88% said that they're going to do this. You automatically think that that's probably a good idea because you've been led in this society to believe democracy is the best way, right?
Right.
And the majority rules, and whatever the majority says is the best for everybody, so we should.
It's a definition of a hive mind, actually.
Is it? Well, I don't know anything about a hive mind. But I do know that this system, it appears superior to others, and in some senses it might be, but it is also not better.
It depends where you are. I remember when I first moved to the United States, I was shocked at the level of oppression here. I was shocked, and I've lived in a lot of countries, and this by far was the most oppressed country I'd ever lived in. It was insane. I even wrote an article about it. You can find it at ineliabenz.com. I was like, whoa, really? I really could not believe the level of oppression that existed here. It's just insane.
Well, it's mostly self-imposed too, isn't it?
Well, yeah, totally. It's always, it's not like victim-aggressor stuff, it's like people who have done it to themselves. But I hadn't been somewhere, for example, that allowed people to put, I remember in my brother used to love McDonald's milkshakes. Loved them. And one day he went to McDonald's in Spain and he asked for a milkshake and they didn't have any. They didn't have it anymore. They said they're not going to sell it anymore. And he couldn't believe it. He kept asking for his milkshake and then she said, no, we don't sell that anymore. And he was like he couldn't get there, It was so impossible.
Short circuit.
They said, what happened? And he said, well, one of the ingredients, the main ingredients, is illegal in Europe now, so we can't sell it. We'll never sell it again. And he just, what? But that's still being sold here in the United States. So things like that, and at the same time that nasty industrial, I think it's a glue or something that's being put into what's called milkshake in the United States and sold as food. It's made legal because I don't know why they made it legal here, or it's still legal. At the same time, people are told that it's illegal for them to drink raw milk. Right?
Mm-hmm.
So there's like a food dictatorship here going on, that you cannot, in free will, do these things. And yeah, I mean, we can, because there are stores that sell it and everything. And
Yeah,
we
I
have
don't know if it's
contacts
illegal actually anymore.
Yeah, I think it is.
But
Well,
they
in
have
a
it in
lot
the
of
grocery
states.
store. In some places,
Yeah.
I think it is, yeah.
In a lot of states, it is illegal. And I think I don't know. But anyways, that's just one example of the type of oppression that exists here. And I remember Daniela was studying nutrition, and she wanted to be, she's well schooled in nutrition and food and everything. And we started looking at that. I remember having a conversation with her about how there's so much obesity in the United States, and I'm thinking, but how can that be? Why are people so obese here? And it's because their bodies are starving. Because the stuff that they put in their mouths that they call food is not actually food, it's just filler. So it's like all the fast foods and all the processed foods and everything you get out of a can and all those things are actually processed foods, highly processed foods, and then items that are so processed they're not longer foods. In other words, you put it in your mouth and you chew it and you eat it, but it doesn't fulfill anything that your body needs. It doesn't have the vitamins, minerals, proteins, or enzymes, or anything that your body needs, so your body starves and wants more, thinking that's going to get it somehow. And that's why people overeat, and they can never get fulfilled or satisfied.
Well, that makes sense. Dr. Cowan, we were listening to him yesterday, he said he was asked a question about reading labels.
Uh-huh.
It's like, how do you read labels? What do you look for? He said, well, if there's a label, don't eat it.
Yeah.
That was a simple answer.
It's really hard to go all the way there. I mean, some people have. A lot of people that I know do that. They don't eat things from a jar. And I felt, well, everything's stated in the label, so just read the label and you'll be fine. Like if it doesn't have aspartame or colorants and stuff, then you should be okay. Mm-hmm. But then today we learned that somebody posted on the Telegram group, in our channel.
Talk With Me Now, yeah.
I think, was it Talk With Me Now or the Inelia Benz channel? Can't remember.
One of the two, yeah.
I think it was the Inelia Benz channel. That ice cream has ingredients in it that are not listed because there's a law in the United States that if everybody uses it, you don't have to list it. And they linked the paper with the law thing that stated it. I was shocked. I'm like, what? That's new to me. I thought at least if you read the labels and it doesn't have the poisonous stuff in it,
you'll be all right.
You're not going to be eating it. But nope. They can, if everybody's using it, you are able to.
Oh, but darn.
It's like, oh my gosh.
Slide that one in.
Yep. It's like, whoa. Okay.
So, somebody invented a truthing class.
Yeah, I did.
So I guess we got to use our truthing class on a lot more things.
And a lot more things, yeah.
But at the same time, there's a certain level of overdoing it, right? I guess that's the right word, overdoing it. Like, at some point, it becomes the distraction to what you're doing. You're overly worried with everything and all the bits and all the bobs.
I don't think it's about worry. It's about just rearranging your life. And I think that, sometimes it can feel overwhelming to know the level of rearrangement you have to do, because it's so deep and it's so intense and it's so much of it. The rearrangement we would have to do, for example, to create our own spaghetti sauce rather than buying it from the store. I always used to cook spaghetti sauce from scratch. I used to put all the ingredients in myself.
Uh-huh.
But now we found some that the labels look really good, only a few ingredients and everything. But now I'm worried. I'm thinking, what if there's hidden stuff in there that everybody puts in so they don't have to?
Guess you can look it up.
I don't know where you could look it up to see the actual ingredients. But, it's like a decision and then a rearrangement or remanagement of your life. It's almost it's almost like when we started looking at spending time or living at the fossil beach that we talked about before in our podcast. And somebody says, how do we feel about being off-grid? And it's like, what do you mean? We are off-grid. It's period. There's no grid there.
Yeah.
Now, how do you bring services in, right?
Now what do you do?
Now what
how
do
can
you
we
do?
get the grid?
Yeah. And to me,
a little bit of grid would be nice, thank you.
I think to me, we can figure out water because people have been digging wells for thousands of years. And they're not complicated. There's ways in which we can treat and make sure the water's safe. And also, so that's not a big concern here and where we live. I mean, if you're living in a desert, maybe it would be a big concern, but here not so much. Electricity, yeah, there's a lot of systems that exist that we can purchase that will provide us with electricity, including the most basic gas generator, and going from there to solar or wind or water, all sorts of ways in which you can create electricity, including human power, right? With those machines like bikes that you create your own electricity with. So that's not a big to do. But to me, because I work online, and my reach and my communication and the way that I deliver my messages online, to me, having internet is a big issue. And there's no way to get it here. I mean, you can get very basic cell phone service from across the water in Canada. There's one of their cell phone services that reaches here, but none of the other infrastructure is here. So that's a rearrangement of a lifestyle. If we were to live here full time, that would literally mean that you have to rearrange your lifestyle, your work, and everything else around it, right? Mm-hmm. And that's a lot of effort. So I think that brings in that feeling of overwhelm of so much you can do, or worry, or whatever words you want to use, because it's the level of rearranging of your lifestyle that it would involve.
Yeah, I was tending to mean like, as it is now, you spend about half an hour thinking about spaghetti sauce when you're cooking it, and you gathered your ingredients. And if you were going to have to make it from scratch, including going to grow your own tomatoes so that nobody else puts something in it, etc., 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 and then waiting for them to get red, and then picking them, and then boiling and peeling them, and then whatever, we're going to be talking about a week to 2 weeks worth of effort for that spaghetti sauce, and that's going to be a lot of attention.
Right.
That could have been used other ways, but I'm going to use it for making a spaghetti.
Which other ways would you use that time?
Well, obviously on Facebook. Except for I don't go to Facebook anymore. Too busy making tomatoes for spaghetti. No. You understand what I'm saying?
Exactly, the rearrangement of your lifestyle.
To rearrange everything just to get spaghetti that nobody put nothing in. Mm-hmm. Or, as we listened the other day with Joel Salatin, remember him?
No.
He's the farmer boy with happy pigs and happy cows.
Oh,
and happy
yes.
Right. It's basically his process. Well, both of them actually, they give up in some ways when they would introduce or meet somebody and they would want to gauge their level of awareness about some of the things that are important to them. Joel Salatin in specifics with farming techniques and things like that, where you have mixed herds on pasture and happy animals having a fulfilling and happy life, eating the foods that they're, basically built to be ingesting in a ecosystem, an environment that takes everything into consideration. So if you decide, should I get this tractor, for example, or not? one of the bases about whether or not you get the tractor is how good is this for the earthworms?
Mm-hmm.
Is this going to affect them negatively? How good is this for the cows and the horses? Not, is this going to till 7.2 per hour or 7.1 per hour? I mean, that's certainly on the list, but it's not the only consideration. You also have the consideration of the animals and the things that support the animals and the things that, you know, all of the bits and the bobs. Mm-hmm. You look at it a bit, I call that an expanded awareness, right? Mm-hmm. So Dr. Cowan, when he meets a farmer, for example, he says, well, do you know Joel Salatin? And if they say no, he knows where they are. If you don't know him, well, it's the same with foods and fats. And the Weston Price Foundation. Yeah. Sally Fallon, I think is her name. Mm-hmm. Same kind of a thing. If you know the person, then I know how you think. Right. So with Joel, it's like you want to know who's producing your food. Yeah. And if you know them and have a relationship with them, you know they're not going to be sneaking weird stuff in there. Because, you know, in the case of him, if they're harvesting chickens or whatever, you can watch the process. You can see the process, what's going on, how it is. There's no secret things not on the label. There's no label. Right. Yeah. So instead of having to grow your own tomatoes, you just need to have a relationship with the people who are providing your food. Mm-hmm. And
that reminded me of something that happened in the 80s. My mum was still alive, and there was, I think it was it must have been in the 80s, maybe early 90s. In the world, there was something called an avian flu. And they killed billions of chickens all around the world, especially like backyard chickens. People would get raided and their chickens would be euthanized, killed in front of them or taken away. And at the time, we were watching the news and my mom said, "Oh, that's so evil." And I said, "Yeah, look at all those poor little chickens." And she said, No, it's not that. She said, "There's no avian flu. This is about oppression." I said, "What do you mean?" She says, "Well, chicken is one of the cheapest meat and protein with the eggs that people can create and grow by themselves. You can do it in a backyard. You can do it anywhere. You can have chickens and have your own meat and have your own eggs to feed your family." Now, billions of small families and small farmers around the world depend on these chickens to live. But billions of families around the world have their own backyard chickens that they can give their families meat and eggs from. And now they're killing them. Why? Because they want to make all these billions of people dependent on the large industries, you know, make them dependent on McDonald's and other people like that. And I was like, whoa, I never saw it that way. I never even thought about that.
Who would ever think they would use an epidemic or a pandemic or a type thing to control masses. Of population?
Well, my mom thought of it in the 80s. What can I tell you?
Yep. And here we are today.
So tell me about cooking. Tell me about the new YouTube channel. Well, we did record one, but we have had the worst time trying to upload it, huh?
Yeah, there might be personal resistances involved.
Oh, yeah, there are?
There might be. Yeah, like things like, I don't really want to have a video of me until I get a haircut. And so, you should see our first video.
Yes.
My hair is literally sticking out all over the place.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I was hoping to have conversations and have you be not so much the co-host, but the other person there.
Not a co-host?
Not really co-host because, I need all the light.
Oh, yes, of course.
I got to be the star. But, someone there who's good bounce things off of and talk about things with.
Uh-huh. I thought we did that.
But you were off camera because you were holding it.
Yeah. Oh, you want me in front of the camera?
Yeah, because of your pretty face.
Oh, dang.
I'm trying to sell your pretty face, honey.
Oh, man.
So that didn't work out so good. So you got my hair.
You want to pimp me out.
So we got my hair sticking up all over the place and a halibut.
Well, we will be uploading it. Yes, we will be uploading it. It's our first one, maybe somebody can...
Well, just bear with us. I think we have a Mevo. We're going to try
cut your hair.
Hook a Mevo up. get a haircut. I do think that one of our tribe members
it starts with an
that.
L.
Starts with an L.
Lo.
It's literally
Maybe
what
she
she
can,
does.
yes.
Maybe she can remember her scissors one of these years.
Yeah.
Fred's hair is getting too long too. So the resistances are there, and in spite of the things, we still recorded.
Yes.
We still edited.
Yes.
We still uploaded.
Yes. No, we didn't get to upload. It failed. The upload failed 3 times.
Oh my gosh, we've been everywhere for that.
Yes.
We have to go to the res. Would that be the most funniest thing?
To go to the
we
res.
have to go to the res to get good internet.
I know. It's ridiculous.
The Shamashak's internet has been failing miserably lately.
Uh-huh.
The Verizon...
Wi-Fi. Cell phone service.
Terrible. And here at the Fossil Beach, we have
There's
1
none.
dot of LTE from TELUS, which is Canada. And they're, a bit stingy with their LTE. They only want it for their national people.
Mm-hmm.
If you're Canadian, then you can have it. If you're not, well, we'll give it to you in little doses. So, kind of like it goes.
You cannot
it
upload
goes,
a YouTube video.
You look, you could, it'll go, it'll go, and then it goes nothing. They shut it off, literally, no signal whatsoever, and then you got about a 5-minute lapse.
You might be able to download
signal, and then they'll
an
give
email.
you a dot again in a little while.
You might be able to download an email. I don't think
you can get a text. Once in a while, you can get a telegram from Talk With You Now. You can see them, but you can't see the pictures.
Uh-huh.
So, kind of weak here. And then in town, when we took Lucy to the vet.
We nearly had it uploaded and then it failed too.
Yeah, it failed in downtown.
Mm-hmm.
The only internet that I think works is our satellite thingy.
Which one?
Starlink.
Oh, yeah, but only sometimes.
Only when there's a satellite around.
Yeah.
So, it sounds like there are circumstances in the way, but it's resistances.
Yeah.
So I got to process some resistances.
Yes, please, so that everybody can see your sticking
up hair.
And it's fine, because
so when we
we'll
say
get better,
processing your resistances, what does that even mean?
Yeah.
Huh?
It's to the push no, right? The push that says no. And so yeah, when we have those, we can sabotage ourselves and stop ourselves. One of the things to remember is that eventually, like in a few months, that was going to be your first video. Nobody's going to watch it. So just put it out there, and then the next one is going to be better. And the one after that even better, because we learn by doing. So let's just get it done.
Yeah, well, that's why I said, even though I was zero interested in doing a video at the time. Zero. But it was resistances, personal resistances.
It was less than zero. You wanted not to do it.
It was literally the opposite of let's do it. How about let's not do it?
Exactly.
How about we do it another day?
And then you snack around and didn't... I said, you tell me when you're going to cook this halibut. Yeah, he did not.
I did not.
He arrived with a plate full of cooked halibut.
Yes, I did.
So now we have to catch another halibut to be able to...
Yes, but...
cook it.
In my defense... When I got cornered, I did it. And I did
because I walked into the kitchen and you were cutting the fish already. What did you do? Wait!
I was just prepping it, honey.
You were supposed to film the prepping from the beginning.
Well, it actually worked better. It was staged properly and perfectly because I cut from fresh on the other side.
Well, only because I walked into the kitchen that moment.
Well, there has to be more than just co-hosting here. You're going to have like help, like you help everybody that's listening move through some things. Oftentimes it's uncomfortable to move through those things. I understand. I have the same feeling. It's a little bit uncomfortable. And you help very, very much. Thank you, honey.
Oh, you're welcome.
So anyways, when you snuck in and surprised me with the camera, so I had to do it. I did it.
Yes, you did.
I went along with it.
You did.
In spite of my hair was sticking up. I could feel it. It's like, hair's up. Who cares? Yeah. I was wearing my captain t-shirt, so everybody had to listen to me from that moment on. And it was fine. The video, when we were recording it, I thought, oh, this is useless. I'm not good at this. I'm not good at that. There's no
The ego
There's
took
nothing
over,
here. There's nothing here to see or talk about.
The ego
what are
took
we
over,
doing? Cutting up a fish. And I'm not even good at cutting a fish.
The ego
I can
took
cut
over.
a fish, but only because I did it 5 times.
The ego took over, huh?
Uh-huh. And so at the end of the filming of it, I was like, well, that was pretty much a waste of time. I think we should do it different and do it over. Remember, we had that talk?
Yeah, and I said, just listen to it. Just watch it
Just
a few
listen to it.
minutes. And then he said, oh, actually, we can use it.
Yeah, and I watched it, and it was okay.
It was okay.
Because if I hadn't ever... I mean, if I had been, here's a fish, now what do you do with it?
Yeah.
Which a lot of people actually are, because they're detached from the source of their food.
Yeah.
If they're plop that thing there, I'd be like, now what do I do? I've seen that you eat these and I love it, but I don't know how to get the part that you eat out of here.
Right.
Right?
Yeah.
So, that had a lot of value.
It did.
Because all fish are basically built similarly. Flat ones are built like that, and then the not flat ones are built a little different, but you got the idea.
Yeah.
You get the meat off and leave the bones. I probably should show the easier way. You just cut it, smack, smack, smack. Just cut it right through.
Oh.
But that's hard to do.
Okay.
Anyway, yeah, we watched it and it was okay. I thought it had nice information in it, and the conversation was interesting.
Yeah.
I mean, it wasn't next level. I mean, I think it can go better. I think it can go further. I think we can go places with it.
Oh, yeah. I think we can improve on it.
We might even clean the kitchen before we take a video next time.
Yes.
All of the details, attention to the little details.
We have a camera.
Have a camera that allows more than one person in the view, the Amiibo thing. Doesn't need somebody to hold it.
Right.
Okay, so yeah, we're going to work on that. Just like all of us. We have a million things going on, and this is something that I think would be really good to do, but at the same time, there are resistances.
Yes.
So what I was trying to say, before you say that, when you have resistances to things, what do you do? This is a question for you.
If I have a resistance to something?
No.
Process resistance. Resistance, you're welcome here.
Resistance, you're welcome here?
Yeah.
Where is resistance in my body?
Exactly. Yeah. You find it in your body. Where is it? Okay.
Okay, I'm resisting this. Wait. I'm trying to...
All right. You're going to do the process online?
I want to do the process online so people can understand.
Okay.
Because not only do I have it...
You still have it.
I still have it, obviously, because we don't have internet.
Yes.
Okay, so walk us through the process.
Okay, so scan your physical body, energy body fields for... I don't want to do videos.
Okay. I do see, I see something and I sense something and it's in my right thigh.
Okay.
Right about here, and it's yellowish, like sunshine yellow.
Okay.
And oblong.
Okay, so oblong
that it's an
yellow,
oblong yellow
something.
thing.
You're welcome here.
Okay, it's getting bigger even.
Allow it to
Now it
grow.
covers both of my legs.
Very good.
And it's all... Well, now it's kind of like I'm a body and it's bigger than all of my body.
All right.
It's growing quite big. Now it's covering, well, the whole state.
Oh, nice.
How could it be that big?
Let's see how big it can get.
We got North America, Alaska. You know, North America and Alaska are included in each other, right?
Yes.
But it's kind of like a global thing now. It's just a yellow haze over the entire planet. Leaking into space now.
What happened?
Well, it covered the entire solar system and kind of blinked out.
Oh, good job. Excellent stuff. All right, now fill out that space that it left behind in your leg and the solar system with joy, light, love, source energy. You can imagine it like a shoot of light going in there, or you can just state the words.
I imagine it as purple sparklies.
Okay, sparklies. Yeah. Perfect. Well done.
Okay. Feels different.
Yeah, that's nice. That's good.
So that's how you do it?
Yeah.
All right. I don't know what to say.
I
feel lighter and relieved.
That's nice. I would like to say, if you want to find this video that we're talking about and the future videos, you can do a search on YouTube on cooking at the res, and you will get one of the first results will be the channel. There's no videos in it, but we do have over 500 subscribers already. And subscribe to it and put the bell thing on so that when we do upload the first video, you're going to get notified and you can come and watch it and tell us all about it.
We're going to leave comments open?
Yeah, why not?
All right. Okay.
All trolls will be deleted and banned.
Deleted and banned.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness. Lucy will come bite him.
Yes.
I wish we had a Lucy app.
I know. All right. How are you feeling?
Let me take off the things in my hand that I had in my head that I wanted to talk about. Well, I wanted to leave, the school and the control mechanisms and all of the things that are, basically done in the name of orchestrating about power over others society. Mm-hmm. Acknowledging that there are those who are in it but not in it.
Yes.
You can be in a society that has power over others, orchestrations going on all the time, and not be subscribing to that power over others.
Right.
You can go to school and you can keep your eyes open and understand that you're probably going to be impacted negatively a little bit, but be aware that that's happening and be street smart or suspicious.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
And aware that many of the things are designed with an ulterior motive, and you're here for the thing that you're here for. It exists in a large part for another thing. The individuals in it, some of them subscribe to that and some of them do not. You are one of those who do not. There are others there who do not. Mm-hmm. Gather with those, or at least keep your eyes open, stay street smart, get what you need and get out.
Right. Yeah.
You're not powerless on this machine, basically. The only thing you have to do is take and claim your awareness.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
That's it.
Yep.
That's the thing that they don't want you to have, because when you become aware, they can't control you so well.
Correct. Yes.
So, wow.
Yeah, that's good. And another little bit that I wanted to add to the conversation about the tomato, you having to grow your tomatoes and how long it's going to take for you to do all of that.
Just for spaghetti.
Just for spaghetti.
And I forgot
to grow basil. It's probably going to be about 20 minutes. Do you know why?
Well, I got to grow basil too. You forgot that.
Yeah, but do you know why it's only about 20 minutes?
Because Hopi will do it?
Yes. Because we have a tribe and we have a person in the tribe. We don't have to
do everything ourselves.
Yeah. We have a person in the tribe who loves to grow things, and we have another person, probably get another person who loves to can, so they can do all the tomato
we could make our own spaghetti sauce.
There you go.
Cooking
to the red spaghetti sauce.
Cooking at the red spaghetti sauce with no label.
No label. Just the name.
That's our label. It's going to be no label.
No label. Yay!
Love you, honey.
Love you, darling.